What if the greatest SpongeBob episodes ever made aren't just funny, but legendary? Today, we're breaking down Chocolate with Nuts, the chaotic chocolate-selling adventure that went completely out of control, and then diving into Band Geeks, the episode that delivered one of the most iconic performances in cartoon history. This episode begins with SpongeBob and Patrick reading a magazine about wealthy entrepreneurs living luxurious lives, surrounded by mansions, fancy cars, and unlimited money. Instantly, their imagination explodes. They don't just want money, they want success, status, and to prove they can achieve something big on their own. Inspired by the article, they decide to start a business. But not just any business. They choose to sell chocolate bars door-to-door in Bikini Bottom. At first, their plan seems simple. Buy chocolate, sell chocolate, become rich. But the execution? Complete disaster. Their first few sales attempts fail miserably. They knock on doors with forced confidence, awkward smiles, and no real sales pitch. One customer slams the door in their faces. Another ignores them. But then comes one of the most iconic moments in SpongeBob history. The elderly fishwoman who slowly opens her door and whispers dramatically, "Chocolate." Her obsession with chocolate escalates into a terrifying chase sequence where she screams about chocolate repeatedly while SpongeBob and Patrick run in fear. The scene is chaotic, loud and hilarious, but also slightly unhinged in the best possible way. As the episode progresses, SpongeBob and Patrick realize that selling isn't as easy as they thought. They try different strategies: emotional manipulation, fake confidence, even guilt-tripping customers. At one point, Patrick accidentally convinces a customer to feel bad for them instead of buying anything. Their lack of business skills becomes painfully obvious. Every door they knock on ends in confusion or rejection. Then the story introduces a brilliant twist. A smooth-talking con artist who tricks them into buying useless chocolate-selling bags. This fish manipulates them perfectly, selling empty bags as a secret formula to increase sales. SpongeBob and Patrick fall for it instantly, believing success is finally within reach. But when they try using the bags, customers become even more confused. Instead of selling chocolate, they start selling empty bags. The humor escalates as their desperation grows. They become more dramatic, more intense, and more ridiculous. SpongeBob tries staying positive, while Patrick's logic becomes increasingly absurd. One of the funniest exchanges happens when Patrick suggests they simply eat all the chocolate to remove their debt, completely misunderstanding basic business principles. But then comes the emotional turning point. After countless failures, they accidentally stumble upon their biggest sale yet. The elderly chocolate-obsessed woman returns, and this time, she actually buys a massive amount of chocolate. Her over-the-top obsession turns into unexpected success. Suddenly, SpongeBob and Patrick are overwhelmed with money. Their dream seems to come true. But here's the genius of the episode. It doesn't end with perfect success. Instead, the con artist returns, demanding money for the fake bags. In a clever and hilarious reversal, SpongeBob and Patrick outsmart him by emotionally manipulating him the same way he manipulated them. They guilt him into giving them money instead. It's ironic, funny, and oddly satisfying. The episode ends in a completely absurd yet wholesome way. SpongeBob and Patrick realize they may not have become millionaires, but they had fun trying. Their dream of luxury fades, but their friendship remains untouched. That's the heart of the episode. What makes Chocolate with Nuts one of the highest-rated episodes isn't just the jokes, it's the pacing. The comedy never stops. Every single scene builds on the previous one. The facial expressions, exaggerated reactions, and unpredictable dialogue create non-stop entertainment. It perfectly captures early SpongeBob humor. Random, yet smart, silly, yet cleverly written. This episode proves that sometimes the greatest stories aren't about winning big. They're about the chaotic journey of trying. This episode opens in what seems like a normal day in Bikini Bottom, but very quickly, it becomes something much bigger. Squidward is casually at home when he suddenly receives a phone call that instantly changes his mood. On the other end of the line is his old high school rival, Squilliam Fancyson. Rich, successful, confident, and everything Squidward wishes he could be. Squilliam proudly announces that he is performing at the prestigious Bubble Bowl Stadium and casually asks what Squidward has accomplished in life. Feeling insecure and desperate to impress, Squidward lies, claiming that he is the conductor of a marching band that will also perform at the Bubble Bowl. The lie escalates quickly, and before he can take it back, Squilliam announces he'll be attending to watch Squidward's performance. The pressure is officially on. The problem? Squidward does not have a band. Determined not to be humiliated again, Squidward gathers the entire town of Bikini Bottom to form a marching band. What makes this setup hilarious is the fact that every single character who joins has absolutely no musical talent whatsoever. SpongeBob is overly excited and loyal. As always, Patrick is clueless. Mr. Krabs only cares about potential profits. Sandy is competitive, and the rest of the townspeople argue non-stop. The first rehearsal is pure chaos. Instruments screech, drums crash randomly, trumpets blare out of sync, and no one follows Squidward's instructions. The animation exaggerates every mistake, making the noise almost feel painful. Squidward tries to maintain control, but the band members start fighting with each other, blaming one another for the disaster. As rehearsals continue, things only get worse. One of the funniest and most iconic sequences happens when the band attempts basic marching drills, but instead of forming lines, they crash into each other in slow-motion destruction. Tempers flare. At one point, the entire group turns against Squidward, mocking his leadership and storming out. Squidward is left completely alone in the empty rehearsal room. This is where the tone shifts slightly, from pure comedy to something more emotional. For once, we see Squidward vulnerable. He sits quietly, staring at the empty space, realizing that once again he may fail in front of Squilliam. His lifelong insecurity, jealousy, and desire for validation are all exposed in a subtle but powerful way. But then comes the turning point. SpongeBob, the most underestimated member of the group, secretly gathers everyone for a late-night practice session without Squidward knowing. This scene is powerful because it shows how much the band actually cares deep down. Despite all the arguments, they don't want Squidward to fail. SpongeBob steps into a quiet leadership role, organizing the group with positivity instead of anger. We don't see the full rehearsal, which builds suspense, but we understand that something has changed. Finally, the big day arrives. The Bubble Bowl Stadium is massive, filled with thousands of spectators. Squilliam sits confidently in the crowd, already expecting Squidward to embarrass himself. Squidward stands nervously in front of the band, sweating, shaking, completely convinced disaster is seconds away. He gives the signal. At first, silence. And then suddenly, everything clicks. The band launches into the song Sweet Victory. And it's not just good, it's epic. The animation becomes cinematic. The instruments are perfectly synchronized. The vocals are powerful. The crowd goes wild. Fireworks explode in the sky. The entire tone transforms from nervous tension to triumphant glory. Squidward, who has spent his entire life chasing recognition, finally stands on a stage where he is respected, admired, and successful. It's not played as a joke. It's genuinely emotional and satisfying. The episode ends in the most perfect way possible. Squilliam, completely shocked and unable to process the success, faints dramatically in the crowd. Squidward wins. For once, he truly wins. What makes Band Geeks so special isn't just the comedy, it's the payoff. The episode builds tension slowly, develops Squidward's insecurity deeply, and then delivers one of the most satisfying endings in cartoon history. That final performance alone is why many fans consider this the greatest SpongeBob episode ever created, and why it consistently ranks at the very top of IMDb ratings. So the next time you think of SpongeBob as just a harmless childhood cartoon, remember this. Behind the bright colors of Bikini Bottom, there were moments of horror, loneliness, and emotional cruelty that many fans still talk about today. If you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to subscribe, because childhood nostalgia can get much darker than this.